The capital burns, Lord Ma Teng.
The noblemen fight for the throne, but they ignore their empire, their responsibility.
Dong Zhuo has taken the Emperor west, to Chang'an.
This is wise. Dong Zhuo has removed him from the chaos. Now, the Emperor can rule without those insidious eunuchs.
Yet there is still civil unrest. The Yellow Turban insurrections persist.
Ever am I called to destroy China's enemies. Very well.
Han Sui may aid you, my lord. He has been a staunch friend.
He has. Yet friends rise and fall. The Empire must not.
Long have you been the sword that holds back enemies without. Now you must turn your blade on the enemies within.
Hello, Monsters Abound here, and welcome to Three Kingdoms. Thank you very much to CA for the early access, and they have now said that I can literally do whatever I want. So, taking them at their word, I decided to streak through the high street. Turns out that that's not what they meant. So basically I'm just allowed to do whatever I like with Three Kingdoms now. I can show you whatever I like. I can play any faction. It's all good. So I've decided to play Ma Teng, and that's because I actually... I've tried lots of different factions. Sun Jian, really like him. Cao Cao, quite fun, but quite an easy campaign. But Ma Teng, for some reason, just spoke to me, and I don't know why, but I just kind of love him. I call him Flaps because of his hat, and it's a thing we have. It's nice. Ma Teng, in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Ma Teng, well, he didn't really do much. He was part of a potential conspiracy, which was set up by the Emperor using was it a jade dragon girdle, a message hidden in a girdle, to try and assassinate Cao Cao. He earned Liu Bei, tried and failed, and when Cao Cao was then trying to deal with Liu Bei and Sun Quan to the south, he decided that he needed to deal with Ma Teng because he was very much going to be a thorn to his west. So he invited Ma Teng to come to the capital by imperial decree, basically, because at that point Cao Cao had the emperor, so he was still using the emperor to send out imperial decrees, and he sent one out saying, "Hey, you've got a promotion. Just come to the capital. It'll be fine." And Ma Teng knew this was a setup. He knew it was going to be an ambush. He walked into it anyway. He left his son Ma Chao back home and said, basically, if anything happens to me, deal with Cao Cao. Something did happen to him. He died horribly, got executed. And Ma Chao, his son, then went on to lead an attack on Cao Cao, which was defeated. But at certain points, he got quite close to actually, at one point, he got very close to actually killing Cao Cao. Eventually, Ma Chao was defeated and fled, and eventually became one of Liu Bei's 5 Tiger Generals. But we can change history. Ma Teng is not going to end up dead. I like Ma Teng because he has big bonuses to shock cavalry. So let's have a look. So we've got establish your power. Lord Ma Teng, Dong Zhao, has fled west with the Emperor. And as you can see, Ma Teng is actually a big support. You think it's Dong Zhao is taking the Emperor away to safety. What a guy. What an absolute upstanding guy. I mean, not a great judge of character is Ma Teng, but there we go. Yet he remains the best option to maintain the Han for now. You too must secure your borders against any and all threats, including the nearby Yellow Turbans. Han Sui, who is Ma Teng's sworn brother, I might add, may be a loyal ally, but if he shows weakness, then seek others. There is no denying Dong Zhao's growing desperation, however, so if he becomes vulnerable, you may be ready to move against him to defend the Empire as you are sworn to do. So we need to remove the Yellow Turban threat and be wary of the Dong. So we've got more missions. We need to find more enemies to vanquish. Engage the following general's army in battle. Wang Du, who is right in front of us. And we'll get a taste of victory for that. So that's more military supplies and more morale, faction-wide, which will be very useful. Now, if you watch my Gong Du... Oh, the map's all wonky. Better. Hate wonky maps. If you watch my Gong Du little Let's Play, just the one-off, then you will know that Ma Teng and Gong Du very much have a bit of a thing going on, and Gong Du is a major threat early on. In fact, he's very tricky to defeat. So we need to play carefully. Now, obviously, at the beginning of every campaign, we get some random ancillary. So what do we get? We got a clay pig. Fair enough. The classic of filial piety. Huh. A clay warrior. A labour recruiter. Plus 8k population growth. Okay, that's...
Is an unquenchable flame.
I know. So Gongdu's a major problem. The other major problem is the fact that Ma Teng, for some reason...
See those proud mountains.
Sure. Ma Teng is cruel. Now, I don't think there's anything in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms to suggest he was, but he's got the trait cruel. Now, that does actually increase income from peasantry. I guess you whip him harder. On the other hand, it does reduce our public order, and that's kind of a problem because it does mean that currently we have no public order buildings, and we can't build any either. So we're basically going to be hemorrhaging public order until we can get our cities up. That has a bit of an early game, causes a bit of an early game problem for us, but he's loyal as well, so he's got some more expertise, reduced penalty from desire for higher office, which he's never going to have because he's a faction leader, more satisfaction, which he doesn't have because he's a faction leader, and decreases ambition to gain independence as an administrator, which he doesn't have because he's the faction leader. He's also careless, probably because of the whole, you know, Cao Cao thing. And he's got his friend Pang De, who is dutiful, stubborn, and patient, and we probably want to give... So what we got. So that's going to give us 2 more resolve. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, right? Let's just pop some more resolve in there. More authority. Authority would give us more satisfaction and unit morale. I mean, it's not bad. Ideally, we probably want to go with more instinct if we can. Yeah, well, now, do we? Do we? Because... I would say probably yes. I mean, the cunning isn't really going to do anything for us. The authority is going to help. So let's actually go with the authority. And then Pang De. We don't have any weapons, do we? No armour. No horses. No, just a bit rubbish. I mean, he's already pretty happy. We could give him the classic of...
Stand fast, like silent soldiers.
Okay, will do. We could give him the classic of filial... whatever, that one. The scroll thingy. It's not going to be great for him, but it is going to keep him fairly happy, and that's all we've pretty much got. Thank you, dear. You can piss off. Okay, so to start off with, we've got yes, an army right in front of us. It's a yellow turban, a fortune teller, and he's got a couple of yellow turban warriors. Now our army is considerably stronger. It's not really going to be a problem for us, but we've also got a silk trader now. This is where it gets good, because as protector of the West, Ma Teng also increases melee damage for shock cavalry, plus 10 faction-wide. He also gives us 100% income from silk and spice faction-wide, which is pretty amazing. He is from a poor background, so he's got reduction in income from family estates. That's the background income, as far as I understand. So background income, every faction gets 2,000. That's sort of changed depending on your background, effectively. So some factions like Sun Jian, for example, have a rich background. They get plus 50% background income, so they get 3,000 instead of 2,000. Ma Teng gets a little bit less, and he also reduces upkeep for, I think it's pronounced Shang units. That is Ma Teng's special cavalry. There's 3 different variations. We can't see them yet because we can't recruit any units, but we get the Xiang Marauders here, who are shock cavalry and very good ones. We also get some melee cavalry and also some horse archers as well. So we also get a horse pastures. I think there's another one over here as well, and also a breeder. Now, all of that means that our cavalry can be ridiculously cheap. Like, super duper cheap. And we also have a look at our court. We can see the family tree. There's Ma Ping, who was Ma Teng's father. He was, I think he was the protector of the West, or general of the West or something. He lost his position, effectively, and married a woman of the, I want to say, Jing tribe, who were sort of in the west of China. So Ma Teng is effectively sort of like he's almost like a semi-barbarian, really. Probably, I mean, look at that hat. It's glorious, and I love it. Oh, so good. But we got Ma Chao here. Now, Ma Chao is currently 14. When he comes of age, he also increases are faction bonuses for shock cavalry. So I think he gives them armor and more melee attack. So basically, with Ma Teng and Ma Chao as our faction leader and our heir, our shock cavalry are fucking amazing. Absolutely brilliant. And we also want to try and get as many silk and spice resources as we can, because for each one we get, as you upgrade them, it increases the amount of total you get from silk, and in the case of spice buildings. So the more of those resources we control, the more money we get from them, and then we double that because Ma Teng is the faction leader. So, exactly, Ma Teng is raring to go, and I think it's about time we took on Wang Du. And obviously, because it's the first battle of the campaign, we're always going to fight it. This should be a fairly easy engagement, seeing as the enemy is significantly smaller than us, and we've got 2 generals to their 1. So they've got a couple of yellow turban warriors and Wang Du there. We've got the G Militia. We've got some archers. And then, of course, we've got over on the far flank, Ma Teng and the Marauders. And looks like Pang De has engaged Wang Du. Pang De versus Wang Du. Interesting. So they're going to be battling each other. Our archers are opening fire on the yellow turban warriors. Taking some arrows there. And our shock cavalry is moving into position. Now, interesting facts. This healer guy has a nasty debuff, which, if we can have a look, there we go. Minus 50 morale. That's pretty brutal. In goes Ma Teng. And if Ma Teng duels the yellow turban healer, Ma Teng only has... I want to say he has less than... No, he's actually got more. So in some cases, it turns out that Ma Teng, if he takes that nasty ability, the minus 50 morale, Ma Teng will actually just retreat from the battle almost immediately. A bit harsh. As we can see, the shock cavalry have made very, very short work of the entirety of the enemy army. Just leaving Pang De to defeat the enemy warlord. Now, Pang De is an interesting character. Only turning up in the Romance of Three Kingdoms when Ma Chao has a nasty dream about, I think it's some tigers eating him or something, which signifies that his father has been killed.
Amazing that you can both talk and battle.
Pang De is cut off from Ma Chao during the battle against Cao Cao, and eventually actually ends up joining Cao Cao. And Pang De then becomes one of Cao Cao's best generals, ends up fighting Guan Yu and shooting him with an arrow in the arm. Later on, Pang De is then killed by Guan Yu, but Guan Yu was so impressed with his combat abilities that he gave him a funeral with full honours. Pang De is really showing off here, really mucking up this Wang Du, this healer. Yellow turbans, rubbish. Ow, watch out, watch the face. Ma Teng there, just cheering him on. Why not? He's doing good work. They're just taking turns batting each other now. Now, come on, guys. Let's get some nice moves in here. Nope, just going to continue battering each other. Well, that works too. Ma Teng enjoying the view, the spectacle. Now, they both have different abilities. The yellow turban general has this knowledge of the mind, splash damage and morale reduction, whereas Pang De has hamstring, which is splash damage, and it reduces the speed and increases cooldown of abilities. As I said, Ma Teng, I have had Ma Teng engage this guy. He will duel the first person that gets close to him. And I have had Ma Teng run into combat. The yellow turban general use that ability, and Ma Teng then run away and flee the battlefield. Oh, he's dead. Good job, Pang De. Ooh, nasty. So Ma Teng has been victorious, although it's not really much of a surprise there. I'll take the income, because income is going to be very, very useful. So, mission succeeded, and we've got a taste of victory for 3 turns. Very nice. And a glorious victory. We have claimed our first victory in the name of the Emperor. If the Han is to be protected, we must forge on and score many more like this. So we got some bonus experience for Ma Teng. And now, the border warrior yeah, whatever. The insurgent army has been crushed, but they yet have a base of operations nearby. March out and take the settlement, crush the rebels, and reclaim it in the name of the Han. So we need to take Wudu. Wudu. And we get support from the people. Plus 25 faction support and plus 5 public order. Now, obviously, if we click on Ma Teng, we can see we can actually take the city right now. There's no garrison here. It would be fairly easy. The balance of power is in our favour. But we're not going to do that. We're actually going to head back. The reason we're going to do that is because Gong Du is out here somewhere and is quite strong. So if we take Wudu, we'll take casualties, and then Gong Du will attack us with a full strength force and basically annihilate us. So we're not going to go there just yet. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to grow over to the Silk Trader, and we're going to upgrade it to the Silk Road Trading Post to get some more money, because as soon as we have more money, we can get more units. And we're also going to go and have a little chat with Han Sui.
Welcome. Take a seat.
Thanks. I don't need one though. I'm going to ask for a trade agreement. So we can see he likes that idea. He's fully with it. We're going to request some money as well. So we're just going to keep doing this until... So we can get about 276 for that, and a trade agreement which is going to give us 259 a turn.
This meets our approval.
I should think so too. Now, we can only get one a trade agreement at the moment, but you can see it's boosted up our income. We're now getting 990 a turn. That's a little bit better, isn't it? That's more like it. Oh, that's more like it. When we get a reform, what we can do is get another trade agreement, probably with the Dong. So we'll do that. But for now, we don't have much left to do apart from end the turn. And of course, in Three Kingdoms, the turn times are nice and quick. Which means I don't have to put any cuts in, because it doesn't take 3 fucking minutes. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to keep an eye on this settlement here and this settlement here, because we can't see what Gong Du is up to. Now, either he will take Wudu. If he takes Wudu, we attack him immediately, because if he takes the city, then he will be injured. The yellow turbans can actually annex settlements. It doesn't look like the AI does that, or at least it didn't in the last version of the game. So, not sure. But what we're going to do here is we're going to pick up someone new to come into our army. Now, we've got Hua Lanali. I think that's how... yeah, that one. She is Ma Teng's wife, and unfortunately, they don't get on. So, a bit of a friction there, but never mind. The other option is we get... oh, God, this guy, whose name I can't pronounce. He doesn't like Ma Teng. Ma Teng is a bit of a fractious character, and we can't afford anyone else. So I think for the moment we're just going to get... We're going to get wifey in. It's going to be a little bit of... Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of marital strife there. But I think we're just going to have to make do. So we're going to grab... I'm tempted to grab some of these Jian sword guards, but they are quite expensive. They are quite expensive, and I feel like maybe we just get the Saber Militia. Let's just get a couple of Saber Militia. So we'll do that. Now, obviously, these guys start off with low replenishment. So they'll replenish over time. In fact, these guys, you get 4 from basic replenishment rate, 4 from military supplies. Military supplies are down here. So as you move through certain terrain and in enemy terrain, you will lose military supplies. If your military supplies drop to 0, then you start taking attrition, which means long campaigns in enemy territory are tricky. So for the moment, and without anything left to do, we're just going to end the turn while we wait for Gong Du to make his move.
Recommend you accept my terms.
I see. Well, okay, he wants me to become their vassal, and he'll guarantee our autonomy, which means he won't ever annex us, and he'll give us 494 for 10 turns. But frankly, I'm going to... thanks, Dong, but no.
As you wish.
I do wish. Laters. Such a jolly fat man. It's like a Gong Du has not made a move. I'm half tempted to just go for it, but let's get a couple more archers in here. I might want to like switch these around a bit. I might want to get like a strategist in this army to give us some range support. Have Pang De just have a bunch of halberd militia and spear militia, and then of course Ma Teng with all the shock cav, something like that potentially. But for the moment, we're just going to sit there and we're just going to keep an eye on things. Right. Right, so Gongdu has taken Hanzong down here. Hanzhong? Is it? Hanzhong? And we've also got a reform, so we're going to grab a reform. And first things first, we're going to take the foreign envoys, because this gives us an additional trade agreement, which is going to be worth a lot of money. So now we can go back to diplomacy. We can go to quick deals, and we can go to trade agreement, and see Dong Zhao there, he wants one. So we'll negotiate that deal. He goes 2.4. So we can then say, I want to request payment and I want some money. Show me the money, Dong. Show me the money. So we can get about 545 for that, plus 394 a turn.
Yes, we accept.
Thank you, Dong. Okay, good. So now we've got more money coming in. Right. So, I'm going to... So our units are replenishing up nicely. Gongdu is down here. So we can now make our move. Now we know where Gongdu is. We can now go and hit the town safely. And we don't need to fight it, do we? But on the other hand, you know, first settlement battle of the campaign. Why not? Settlement battles can be quite nasty. Mostly because of the towers.
Our general needs our aid.
The towers fire pretty fast and will take out at least one person with each shot. They also tear through enemy generals. Towers can be taken down very, very quickly with fire arrows, assuming you have them. Artillery is pretty good as well. If you don't, then they can be quite brutal, especially on large units with a few actual models in them, like cavalry, which is why our cavalry is currently hidden in the forest with Ma Teng. Now, I have been told they're actually nerfing the towers a little bit because they were proving to be quite brutal. I did manage to win several sieges quite easily just by holding the enemy at the entrance and let the towers just kill everyone. So I think they have nerfed them a little bit. I don't know whether they're going to nerf them like a little bit more. In goes Pang De and our wife. Now, Pang De and his hamstring ability actually very, very good at carving their way through enemy units. Here comes our infantry charging in. It's going to be a rather brutal affair as we just literally just have to carve our way through the entirety of the Yellow Turban army while taking a lot of fire. Our cavalry is now moving up. There's Ma Teng coming in, leading the marauders. As you can see, we've managed to start taking the towers. There we go. The towers are now ours. We are further into the city. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We just need to deal with the large number of enemy infantry. Now, our generals should do very, very well here. Generals do very well at carving their way through enemy infantry. Even strategists can, although, you know, it's a lot riskier. So Pang De is already up to 87 kills. This is why duels are quite useful. A duel will take an enemy general out of the fight. Obviously, it takes your general out of the fight as well. But it does mean they're not killing all your infantry and cavalry. They're particularly good at killing cavalry because they tend to be able to kill a couple of cavalry units with each swing. And of course, you don't have as many cavalry units as you do infantry in a unit. Most infantry have about 240 on extreme size, I think. And cavalry has 60. We're trying to pull the marauders through into the rear so we can get around That's the idea anyway. As you can see, a lot of their units are starting to rout, but they're still holding up quite well.
The men are out of ammunition.
It's just really cut and thrust, just carving our way through their lines, doing as much damage as possible. It's just a matter of time. But we are going to lose quite a few men in this melee.
For their legs.
Yeah, that hamstring is pretty brutal. Pang De is up to, if we can find him, 222 kills. Whereas Wifey Lady up to 38. No, 74, sorry. She has taken some damage, as you can see. She has actually taken damage. Generals are not invincible against enemy infantry and enemy cavalry, but against this caliber of infantry, they're not going to. It's not going to be too much trouble for them to deal with that. Ma Teng is up to 29 kills, 30 kills. Sorry.
Go, go, go!
I think once they start getting like AOE splash damage abilities, that's when they're really, really dangerous. So our cavalry's now flanking around. Going to try and get that nasty charge on the rear.
To battle!
Unfortunately, the charge is a little bit lackluster. Not much happens. But we now at least have them surrounded. So now they're fighting on all sides. Our generals are just leaping through, carving their way through the infantry.
Go for their legs! March at the double!
Okay, we're going to try another charge. We're going to pull the
Move out quickly!
cavalry out.
Move!
Try and get them all out.
Is that ready?
How's Ma Teng doing? 85 kills. Not bad. Wifey's up to almost 100. Pang De is just... He's just way out in front, isn't he? He's just 265. No problem. In comes the cavalry. Last few units breaking.
Move! Destroy them!
Cavalry ends up chopping them down. And the city's ours. Although he did pay a bit of a price for it.
Yes! Yes! Good!
As you can see, well, we can't see actually, there's a mountain in the way.
Fight
As you can see,
with utter belief, and you
settlement
will be
battles can be quite
undefeatable.
nasty. But never mind, because we can now occupy this settlement. It'll lose 20% of its population. We'll get some income, faction support, and military supplies.
This shows much potential.
I know. So we've taken the settlement. We've got establishing order. The city falls to our might. We must drive forward, knowing that we act in a just cause, that of the Emperor, and thus all of China. And Ma Teng looks to domestic issues to strengthen his rule. So we need to construct or upgrade a building. It's going to give us some reduction in construction cost and time.
Attention!
So we've taken some damage, as you can see. This bar represents how strong our army is, and we've lost quite a few men. Replenishment is pretty slow. Currently, it's only six turns until we be fully replenished. We can increase that. The more population you have, you get bonuses to replenishment, you get bonuses to administration construction, you get penalties to public order as well, but also income from peasantry, which is a type of income. So it's quite important to keep that in mind. So we're going to demolish this building because it's Yellow Turbine 1 and we don't want it, but already we can see that public order is dropping thanks to people in power, -4 because Ma Teng is cruel. There's not much we can do about it. We're also losing public order here, but this settlement doesn't actually make us any money. So actually what we can do is just make it exempt from taxation. That's going to keep them happy. So sure, they won't giving us any money anyway.
To arms!
So
Once again, I feel the warmth of home.
indeed. So let's have a look at recruitment. We could potentially see that's so expensive. 3,175 for another one of these marauder units. We could save up for it, or we could just get some mounted lancer militia, slightly cheaper. Less good, obviously, but slightly cheaper. So maybe let's get one of them just to sort of tide us over. And we'll get another one of these just to keep us going. Gongdu might well come and attack. We've also got his little friend over here, Zuhi, who I think might lay siege to us just to piss us off. But he also might head back to the copper mine, or the donut factory as I like to call it, because that looks like a donut to me with sprinkles. So depending on what happens next, he's heading down there. So what we could do, there's two options now. We could head for the donut factory, or alternatively we could just lay an ambush and see what happens. So Ma Teng, so we completed this one because we constructed a building, so we're going to get reduction in construction cost and so on and so forth. An army is called for. They want us to recruit and maintain a total of 19 units at the start of a new turn. Current is 17. We'll get growing might, which includes plus 10% replenishment bonus, which is massive in the early game. So they want us to also kill Gongdu, who is down there apparently. He might that might mean he's on his way back up.
Truth is an unquenchable. The conqueror
Okay.
returns.
So we've got a couple of options. Now ideally I want a Confucian Temple for the public order, but we can't build that yet because we need at least a small city of level 4 in order to construct this building. So if we have a look, here are the types of cities you can construct up to. As you can see, the imperial city here allows a total of 7.5 million population, so that will give you the total bonus of 350% increase from income, and it also gives, I think, 20% bonus to replenishment, but it costs 46 food, which is massive. Now you can see it actually gives you plus 100 income from peasantry. However, you must remember that actually is 350 income, because at max population, of course, you get 350% bonus. So actually that then becomes quite the money maker, and also 150% income from commerce. So, and 6 building slots of wall as well, and of course settlement has walls. So we won't be building that just yet because currently we have absolutely no food. So I think to start off with, because we've got the donut factory, which is an industry, so I think what we're going to do is we're kind of going to go industry in this region. So we're going to start with the state workshops. That just gives us a flat 100 income from industry. So no bonuses to anything else, but it will just give us a flat 100 increase. I'm going to leave Ma Teng here for the moment because he's going to slowly increase public order. Not by much, but it's something. And I want another unit so I get that extra replenishment. I'm hoping Gongdu is heading north. What we need to...
We patiently await your answer.
What do you want? You want my clay pig? And you're going to give me... sure, yeah, have the clay pig.
Elevates the spirit.
I hope you really enjoy your clay pig, mate. Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. Okay, so replenishment's doing pretty well. What we're going to do is we're going to recruit another unit. That will then set off the bonus replenishment, which is going to be really useful. What I'm also going to do is... I want land development. Land development will give us some food. Some basic food from farming. It then splits off into 2 different types of building, and then potentially splits off into 3 different types of building. So it can increase population growth by 24,000. That's huge. Give us some food. Give us some income from peasantry. Again, you have to remember that if you build that in a max rank city, then that doubles it by, well, increases it by 350%. So quite a lot. We can increase population, reduce the amount of food by 18, but increase the amount of income we get. So again, remember, increased by 350%. And here we get 300. Is that even more food? Yes, it uses even more food. Slight income from commerce as well. Lots of income from peasantry. So as you can imagine, that 300 would become, what, like 900 and something income? I think it'd be almost 1,000 income just from that building in a max rank city. So you can make... If you work on it, if you work on a city, you can make it like just massively worth the money. If you go with the peasantry route, industry seems more like a quick, easy, dirty way of getting cash, whereas the peasantry is you need to actually put some food in to upgrade your city to get it to the point where it's going to make even more money than industry could ever hope to make. So we won't worry too much about that now, because currently our population is 51,000. And because population will drop when public order drops fairly soon, Wudu won't have as many people. So it's long term we've got to think about. So hopefully, yeah, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. We won't worry too much about building anything just yet. We'll just end the turn. I'm hoping Gongdu doesn't pop up just yet. Okay, we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him, but we have got this growing might, so that's more replenishment. And we want to hold 4 settlements. We'll gain momentum, which is minus 20% recruitment. Patient versus reckless. Patience is understanding, you suggest to a comrade, and that waiting is the cornerstone of victory. The master Sun Tzu teaches this. Your comrade sees it differently. Victory, like life, is lived in the moment. Neither fortune nor flowers last forever, so do not let them pass. So we can say patience, and we can go with Pang De, or we can go with our wife and say, yep, sure, recklessness. I mean, considering that she hates our guts, maybe we should sort of cozy up to her a bit. So we'll go recklessness. So we'll make friendly with the wife.
I feel the warmth of home.
How does she feel about us now? Okay, she doesn't like... her opinion's terrible, but past events, family and battle actually working out. So currently we're friends. So that's not too bad.
The conqueror returns.
So what I want to do now is I'm going to scooch over here.
Obey instinct.
And I'm going to lay a little ambush. And I'm going to see if maybe Gongdu will see this settlement undefended and go for it. Well, we haven't spotted him yet, so... Daochan. The minister Wang Yun, fearing the tyranny of Dong Zhao, sent his adopted daughter to the capital. His plan is to have her destroy the relationship between Dong Zhao and his adopted son Lu Bu. Now, of course, in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, that works quite well, and Lu Bu ends up killing Dong Zhao. Now, that usually happens in the game, but there is also a chance that it doesn't happen. I've had a few games where Daochan is sent to the capital, but then nothing happens and Dong Zhao continues as the faction leader. Oh, we got a wooden ox. How nice. Oh, what we should do maybe is we should give our wife something. Does she want a little clay warrior man? Sure. Have the little clay warrior man. And what's this? Plus, ooh, that's quite useful. Okay, let's... okay, we don't... Agreed. Let's give you the Overseer, because that's going to increase your movements, your campaign movement range, and speed of your retinue, which is, of course, you know, pretty good for shock cavalry. The faster shock cavalry, the better. It's also going to make you more cunning and authoritarian, or give you more authority anyway. Okay, so no sign of Gongdu, which means we're going to head for the copper mine as quickly as possible. We can also upgrade this. We're going to go land development because that's going to give us a little bit of peasantry income and some food and a little bit of population growth, which is sounds pretty good to me. Ideally, we want to upgrade the Silk Road as well. That would give us quite a lot of money, but at the moment, I think it's probably worth more getting the land surveying. That's going to give us more income naturally than the Silk Road will upgrading it, I think. So we'll go with that first. Now, of course, Gongdu will probably now charge towards me. Maybe. Maybe? Well, we'll see. Okay, let's go and grab... in fact, destroy Yellow Turban Rebellion. Well, they pop up from time to time. Duty. This general sense of duty is vital to them, as is the blood that flows in their vein. The ideals of our faction hold them upright as much as their bones. Their allegiance is beyond question, and every thought and action they have are guided by the principle of duty to the great cause. Pang De, what a guy. More satisfaction. Not that we were any risk of him leaving. Oh, we got a water... ooh, the water clock. Nice. The water clock gives more replenishment, so we're going to pop it on Ma Teng, and that's then going to give us some more replenishment, which is, of course, incredibly useful at this time in the campaign. We're going to go and attack here, and we're just going to delegate that. That should be fairly easy to win.
Order has been restored.
Lovely. So we're going to occupy that.
This belongs to us now.
Now, you're probably thinking, well, Gongdu hasn't done anything, but trust me, if you let him, he can wipe you out very, very early. It can be quite tricky. So, Ma Teng has increased in ranks. We've got some options here, and I think I quite like going flexibility first off, because more replenishment. The faster you can replenish, the faster your army can be ready for action. And Pang De, we're going to go with Endurance would give us more resolve. That increases our health. But reach would increase our melee damage. Reach, because Pangde isn't leading the army, it wouldn't increase our campaign movement range, and because +1 available armies is only if the character is a Prime Minister, heir, or faction leader, that won't work. So basically he just gets +8 instinct at the moment. But it would lead on to mobility or trust. So let's go with reach. So it's going to increase his instinct a little bit. Do we have any followers we can give you? We can give you the Labour Recruiter. Sure. Sure, Pangde. Sure. And we've got another little reform. Now, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to go for the Register of Land and Population, because that's going to increase our money from peasantry. But then later on, increase income from all sources, then industry, and then finally from lots of different sources and silk and spice. So we're going to go with that one first. Let's do that. Okay, now we need to deal with Gongdu. Now what we need to do, I think, is move down towards the large town in Hanzong. Now Hanzong, the other settlement in the commandery, is this silk trader. We could potentially buy it off Dongzhao if we have the money. We've also got an assignment which we could use, but we don't currently have anyone that can, do an assignment. We could actually have a look at some of these options we have. There's no one super interesting, but she is quite good and quite young. She could be a good wife for Ma Chao, who is currently 15. A little bit of experience. She's friendly, she's scholarly, and suspicious. That's not actually that bad. We could recruit her. A trader. I mean, I could go for that. I could go for that. Let's do that. I'm not sure how she's going to get on with Ma Chao, but we'll find out, I guess. We'll find out. Okay, so that's where I'm going to have to end it for this episode, but we're going to be heading down towards Gongdu and hopefully taking him out and his rather large and scary army. You'll see what I mean. He's got some very nasty units in there. I've only managed to beat him in ambushes before, so if we can get him in an ambush, that should make life easier for us. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Ma Teng campaign.